back, guys. I appreciate you, as always, for tuning back into Black Expat Life Abroad. I am here with another special guest, one of our virtual relocation conference speakers, none other than Mr. Maurice Foley. How you guys doing? How you doing today, Maurice?
All is well, man. A little jet lag today, but I'm feeling great today. Today's a great day.
No, it is always a great day, especially on the other side of the TSA, as I always say. What we do here, if you guys are brand new, my name is RJ. What I have done is try to create the team of super friends. These super friends are designed to help make your move abroad out of the United States or wherever it is that you are looking to leave from and usher you into a new life. This life abroad is something that you can actually obtain, but you're going to need some help. You might need a hookup along the way, and what we do is not only drive the conversation, but bring in our team of experts. Today, we're going to have Cape Town, South Africa, talk about what that life looks like there, because I know when you guys are going into your Google searches, when you're going into Chat GPT and trying to figure out where is your next best life going to start, you continuously some of these see these top destinations, and Cape Town is one of them. So we're going to get into not only who Maurice is, but how he's going to be able to help you in your journey ahead of your move abroad. So without further ado, let us get into it. Make certain that you are sharing this with somebody that needs to hear not only information about Cape Town, but needs somewhere to go to make certain that they have the information on how to move abroad and to do it successfully. Maurice, you said you just got back. Can you talk to me? Where were you at? You said you have some jet lag.
Yeah, I actually I'm an avid traveler, and sometimes I like to take the long road just so that I can visit other areas. Um, Normally, I would take a straight flight from Atlanta straight into or Washington D.C. Into Cape Town or Johannesburg, but this time I wanted to go to some other countries, and that was Zambia and Nairobi, Kenya. Then landed in New York, and then went to Atlanta, and then came to Bermuda. Because
That is
I love flying, and I love going to different places. And I've done that route before, but it does wear on you a little bit. We are changing so many time zones, and then finally getting to your final destination, and then the next day it catches up with you because your body's confused as to where it is, right?
Mhm.
So yeah, I took the long way back, which was about 21 hours, but normally it's about 15, 16 hours. But I enjoy what I do. I enjoy traveling, and so there's no harm. Just
Yeah.
a little sleepy, but I'm good. Yeah.
That though, I don't think I have yet to journey on a trip with that much airtime. I'm definitely a little, uh, I would say like it's going to take a lot of sleep and a lot of movies to get me on that plane for that long. But I am looking forward to it. Somebody said to me the other day, I heard you were going to South Africa, and I said, well, I have been talking to Maurice, and you didn't know that, but I know you've invited me out there, and some of the things that I'm hearing about South Africa, not just as a place to travel, but as a place to live, it seems really inspiring and an opportunity that I think a lot of people are starting to consider. One thing I always tell you, audience, in regards to our destination experts, many of us were in the exact same position as you. Many of us aren't from the places that we have become an expert on how someone can live there. We had to take the actual steps and not the elevator on ways not only to build a life and thrive for ourselves, but in other ways to help you guys with the blueprint on how to do so. So, talk to me, Maurice. How did you get to Cape Town in general? Because the journey is worth the entire experience.
Well, my journey began several years ago, and when I say several years ago, in 1998, when really, if I'll be specific, Black Americans weren't traveling to South Africa, let alone Africa. I think people were going to the northern African countries, such as Morocco and Egypt, and because those were easy to get to, right? But of course, in the 90s, it was during the apartheid era as well, and Nelson Mandela and his fight for freedom, so that his family, colleagues, friends, all of that would have an opportunity to live their best life. And so I graduated from undergrad in '98, and so my family got the calling to come to South Africa to help this community build a church and a community center. Um, Once you get to know and understand South Africa, it's like the West Coast, East Coast. There's a Western Cape and then there's
Okay.
Eastern Cape. So we were invited to come to the Eastern Cape of South Africa in 1998, which was approximately 4 years after apartheid ended. Nelson Mandela became president. And so there was a shift in culture because now people were free to live their best life. And in doing so, they were now allowed to live, to become entrepreneurs, to find jobs. And so my first touch base on the continent was in South Africa, and it changed my life. And it's still changing my life to this day, still having a big impact on me today. And that's because I connected instantly with the culture.
No, I listen. That's why I said, how did you get there? Because my experience was it was an invitation. It was an opportunity to come to Colombia at a time where not many Americans, Black Americans especially, were visiting Colombia. A lot of people, my family was like, "You're going to Cartagena? What's there? What do you know about Colombia?" I said, "I don't know anything." My one of my sisters, Spelman's sister, actually, she said, "Hey, let's go out there. I'm Colombian. You're going to be okay." And what I tell people when I got there, the words that I was greeted with, "Tu eres mi color, tu eres mi color," as the person pointed to their skin. That was the
Yes,
first time I'd ever experienced somebody celebrating my blackness. Like, I knew I
yes.
was, happy and proud to be black, but to see it experienced in another language and somebody almost utilizing it as a greeting that we are, of kindred spirit. That's why I got into Colombia and realized that it was somewhere not only to appreciate, but to reach back and give people opportunity.
Well, I think the pull for me was the easiness, and we'll probably get into it in a few minutes, but it was an easy transition coming from the Western world where we have things at our fingertips, even back in the '90s. Now we have phones and the internet and all of this stuff. And so for me, it was an easy transition because
Mhm.
I lived in Atlanta, Georgia, and it reminded me of Atlanta. They had tall buildings, they had condo buildings, they had offices, and that sort of thing. And I think what had happened, and I think it happens every time I take a group of people there, is that you arrive and you look around and you're saying, well, wait a minute, this is not what they told us. You
Yep.
know, back in the day, if you can remember, if anyone can remember, you saw the commercials of the
Starving
dirt road.
child in Africa.
Yeah, and donate and give donations
Yep.
and
Yep.
you
Yep.
know, and yes, that did exist, but it wasn't the entire continent. And so
Hmm.
people have to understand that, when people say, I want to go to Africa, well, where do you want to go? There's 54 countries. There's 54
Literally.
countries. There's hundreds of languages. Where do you want to go? So
Hmm.
I'm very grateful that my family allowed me the opportunity to go to South Africa because it was a great entry point.
Hmm.
Because it was a great entry point for what we were used to as a culture in America, in the Western world. And they had a lot of the conveniences that we're used to in South Africa already because it's a port
Hmm.
city. So they had the fastest growing economic opportunity there as well. And then of course, it started to move northward, right? And so that was the reason what drew me to Cape Town specifically is because it was the easiness of kind of getting into the culture myself. But then again, once I got past that very quickly, the
Hmm.
convenience of the thing, I then started to dig into why we were there. And to really understand the culture and to immerse myself into the culture and the tribes and the languages and to really understand the struggle.
Hmm.
And they had a different type of struggle than any other country in Africa, right?
Seriously.
So I was really drawn to that piece. And that really set me on a pathway of wanting to make a difference in the world.
Nah, that is you bring up a very good point with the thought process that it was easy. You know, you could see the similarities because we were just kind of talking about that. I mentioned I'm here in Mexico right now, and I said, you know, living in Colombia, which is, you know, not. I wouldn't say it's difficult, but it's not easy if you don't speak Spanish or aren't willing to learn. It is a new culture. It's completely different. There's no Walmart down the street. These things are just different. Whereas I was telling Maurice before we got on, I said, you know, in Mexico, you know, as a first time place out, you know, that kind of ease of use or familiarity could help. You know how you get into the bathtub and you don't just jump into the hot water, you kind of put your foot in and you ease into it. I didn't do that, but you know, you the way you were describing what you were experiencing in South Africa, it kind of gives a reason why this could be one of the places that is on somebody's radar. I was seeing today in one of the Facebook groups, somebody was asking this very question. They said, why is it that Cape Town is starting to become a place that, you know, black people are starting to look at? And one of the answers I saw was exactly what you said. Similarities to Western culture or Western environment as far as the ease of use of things. Kind of tell me about that for your clients that come and seeing that in America versus in South Africa.
Well, first of all, the native tongue or the first language is English. They're taught that from babies going to school, so that they could communicate globally. Okay, so they're taught English. So that's an easy transition right there because everyone speaks English in South Africa for the most part. And of course, they have their other languages, the Afrikaans language, the Xhosa language, Zulu, all of that, right? And so uh, it's I found it as an opportunity for me to start to learn their language because I'm in their country,
Yeah.
and so but I'll be honest with you, I enjoy listening to their form of English, and so I think for me that played a big part as well. The ability to be able to communicate with ease,
Hmm.
and also to learn their language as well. Because I think that, and then when we talk about culture, um, they're still dealing with their blackness as well, because they do separate um, the skin color. Because I'm light skinned, so I'm considered colored.
Hmm.
Now, that means something totally different in the South, in Alabama or in
Hmm.
Mississippi. Uh, and then, but if you're of a darker skin, let's say darker than a paper bag, like a paper bag,
Hmm.
then you're considered black, you know? And so, and sometimes you're treated
Still
differently
dynamic.
because of your skin color, but throughout the years now, I found that that's now evolving and that's
Okay.
slowly changing now because Cape Town is, in fact, on a global scale right now where everyone is paying attention. And
Hmm.
so the draw for Black Americans is now what Nelson Mandela had been preaching, that we are a nation of colors. We're the rainbow nation. And so it's just a matter of teaching the culture there that everyone should be treated equally and
Hmm.
respected. And so that's the part that is, there's so many parts to this. But most importantly, I wanted to be able to go to a country where I felt that I was going to be accepted, regardless of the color of my skin. Okay,
No.
and of course, we could probably go into how things are going now in the U.S., but I would say that it's definitely a comfort level for me, um, being in South Africa and seeing. And we can talk about the network that we have there as well. But it's definitely a draw for me. And now it's been named, Cape Town has been named for the seventh year in a row, the best city on the planet. by several
Wow.
publications.
Well, let me ask you this
You know,
because you mentioned Africa, and you're right. So many people are, especially with Africa, because there's a famous movie line where the guy said, "I'm going to Africa," and nobody dared to ask what country in Africa. They just knew he was going to the continent of. Um, and right now, we have seen over the last number of years not only this black exodus of people moving out of America, black people, and looking to other places, but certain countries in Africa actually calling out to Black Americans back in the diaspora. Never mind just the United States, and saying, "Hey, come here, come back. If you were a part of the nonsense that went on in the Caribbean, come back." What makes South Africa, as some nations in Africa are doing, what makes South Africa stand out in that? Where Ghana is saying come. Do they have any kind of programs like that in South Africa?
well, as I mentioned before, South Africa is a great entry point because they have the tech companies there, because they have banking there as well. It's a great hub for entrepreneurs. If you're a content creator or influencer, it's a tremendous opportunity to be there as well as an entrepreneur. Of course, the other countries are coming online slowly with the same concept, such as Ghana and now Kenya as well. I know the Kenyan Tourism Board is like up in the ante of getting more tourists there, right? But then it's opening the door for more business minded people as well. If you look at Nairobi, Kenya, the majority of their population in Nairobi are young people under the age of 30. Why? And they're in
Really?
college, they're in school, getting their education, in tech, and in reinsurance and in finance and all of this stuff because they want to be able to stay in their own country, but they also want to be able to get their education and go get experience so that they can come back home as well. So in South Africa, in particular, like the University of Cape Town, where there's what, 20, 30,000 students.
Mhm.
I know a mom and daughter that left the United States, moved to Cape Town. I think she's retired and put her daughter in the University of Cape Town because the education system is so much better. Okay,
Mhm.
even and of course the cost to go there as well is
Yeah.
tremendously low as well. But the quality of education, and we can go into healthcare and all of that, is so much
I
better
want
in
to.
what we're
I
getting in the
know a
United
lot
States
of
for a
people want to
fraction of what
know the
we paid
cost.
for.
Yeah, talk to me about the cost because currency exchange, is something that is going to navigate people around how far your U.S. dollar will go. Let's talk about what that looks like as far as what they use and what it compares to as far as the USD.
So I have a app on my phone called it's several of them that are out there, but this one in particular is called XE. It's a currency exchange. It's a live app. So when you put in, if you want to know what the currency exchange is for South African rand versus US dollar, you just put that in there, and it will let you know what you're getting. So right now, I think it's sitting at 17 and a half or teetering on 18 South African rand to one US dollar. Okay. So if any of you that are out there listening, and you can go on to like a currency exchange or currency converter, just Google it and put in one US dollar to South African rand, you'll see what the difference is. So say for example, you can put in 500 US dollars and you'll see how many South African rand that converts to. So when you're thinking about, yes, so in food transparency here, the higher the South African rand goes, the more advantageous to us as US dollar holders it is. But it's not good for the local market. Okay, if you understand what I'm saying. So the lower the South African rand goes, then it's not really good for us. I remember in 1998 when the South African rand was 10 to one US dollar. Here it is 17. So you imagine going grocery shopping
Yeah.
as using your debit card as a US bank holder, um, you know, paying rent and that sort of thing. It works to your advantage as a US
Mhm.
dollar person to the South African rand. So um, it's really a no brainer for us to go down there and exchange our US dollar for South African rand because we get a higher return in their money for the US
Yep.
dollar.
Nah, that
You
makes a
know,
lot of sense. And what I tell people is there's a
which is
two-edged thing
attractive.
to no, seriously. There's two edges that you have to look at, both sides. There is one, the actual exchange rate. The exchange rate, obviously, you just said 17 to 1. I think Mexico it's like 18 to 1. Colombia, it's almost 4,000 to 1. But you also have to consider when coming from America, even in a place like Panama where it is a one-to-one exchange, things just don't cost as much in the versus in the United States. So people are able to get a $1,500 apartment fully
Yeah.
furnished on the water in
Yeah.
Panama where there's nowhere that you can get that in the United States.
The same in South Africa, the same in Johannesburg, Cape Town, Durban, George, all of these metropolitan cities in
Mhm.
South Africa, the same applies. You can be in a high rise building on the 18th floor looking over the city, you know, in a one or two bedroom for like 1,500 bucks, 1,200 bucks a month, or sometimes lower, you know, if you get lucky, you know, with all the amenities that you have in a hotel. You know, it's and then of course when you go grocery shopping, you know, if you spend an average 150 $200 on groceries in the US, you're probably going to spend 75 in US
Hmm.
dollars on the same groceries. Why? Because you don't really have the amount of exchanging of hands before it gets to the consumer. Okay. And I'll tell you now, we can talk about grocery shopping. I was actually on the phone on WhatsApp with my mom. I walked into, we have a Woolworths in, we call it Woolies, but we have a Woolworths for those that are of certain age who remember Woolworths.
Right. I remember Woolworths.
Yeah, we have, but it's a modern Woolworths now in South Africa. We can go grocery shopping and buy clothes and everything. But when I had my mom on WhatsApp and I said, "Look at the prices of these things," and she was just like, "Wow, everything's so vibrant. Like the vegetables and the fruits are so vibrant and so colorful."
Hmm.
And the way that we shop in South Africa is totally different than the way we shop in America. The way we shop in America, we load up our basket with everything, and half of the food goes bad because we don't use it
Yep.
in
We
enough
shop for like
time,
a week or
right?
two at a time.
No, in South Africa, they have everything packaged so that you only shop for what you need for maybe 2 or 3 days.
Hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, that is a little different.
So the prices are lower because you're only going to shop for what you need to consume within a certain period of time.
Yep.
So it's a whole lifestyle change, even so that you can save more money. So it still blows my mind. I come, you know, I go shopping and I'm just like, wow, you know, and the quality of food. I'm not a big meat eater at all. However, when I do go to South Africa, I'll have a steak or I'll have a
Hmm.
burger because a burger and fries and a drink is, and a quality burger at that, at a nice restaurant, is like $7, right?
Yep. Yep. Yep.
And you know, and then I'll have a steak. I'll have like an ostrich burger, or I'll have a zebra steak, that sort of thing. You know, we can try some
Had
delicacy
that one yet,
stuff.
brother.
You know, it's
So,
just, you know, it's just, yeah.
yeah, you said zebra and an ostrich right on the tail end, and you just slid that right in there. So that is one thing that you have to consider because you mentioned the good things that are ease of use from the Western world, but then you mentioned like some other things. Zebra and ostrich are not normally served in the United States. Was it difficult to get accustomed to the culinary scene because things in Colombia are definitely different than what I was experiencing in the US.
No, the culinary scene in South Africa is thriving. And when I say thriving, you go to restaurants and you see what they're serving. And of course, you look over to the other table and like, wow, that's interesting. Or you see them bringing out food. I'm like, what is that? You know, it's just the food is so authentic and it's so fresh. Like you can taste the meat and you can taste the vegetables and before, like when I eat in the U.S., I'll be honest with you, every time I eat somewhere, I get bloated. Not in South
No.
Africa. Like I feel like I'm full, but I don't feel like I overate. You know, and the quality of food there. And yes, you can try the ostrich burgers, and they taste so good. Yeah, it's a bird, right? But they make it
Big one.
in a way
Very big.
that it's a bird. But I
Perfect.
will tell you that the quality of food, the product, the quality of food in South Africa is top tier, because they don't have to go far to get it. Everything is manufactured right there in South Africa.
Yeah,
You know,
I
that's
tell people.
that's why the cost is so low, is because everything is manufactured right there, from your toothpaste to your deodorant, to your soaps, to whatever you want. Everything is done right there.
Mm, no, the thought process with the food is such a thing because it's oftentimes people are like, I go to Italy and I'm able to eat all this pasta, and it's just like I can't eat any of this in the United States, and that factored into why I left. I was running into not being able to eat this stuff in the United States without feeling bad. Like that was like, how can you not eat anything? Yet you're saying I barely eat any meat. Yet in South Africa, I'm willing to go down the zebra lane and I'm willing to go down the ostrich lane. And that just will tell people that a lot of Maurice, I don't know if you ever said this to somebody, but it keeps coming up, which is many people think moving abroad is giving something up. I'm giving up everything that I have in
Mm.
America for a life abroad that doesn't offer any of the things that I have in America. And I'm like, the American education system has failed us so, 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 so
Oh,
bad because we have
yeah.
everything that we have in the United States. Maybe it's not the exact same name called Walmart or whatever the case is, but we have everything plus everything that is either one, not affordable, or two, not even offered in America, living abroad. Now you can go to South Africa and still hear this. You can go to Colombia. You can go to many a place and realize that this is what's happening. So I wanted to point that out is because a lot of people are not realizing that you're not giving up something. They're allowing their fear to not let them leave or keep them there and not realizing you should be more scared of not realizing what life has to offer.
Well, I think that's, I don't want to use the word ignorant part of it all. I think more of us need to educate ourselves, and to really step out and listen to those people that have done it, like myself, that have experienced this. I think what has happened is that as a culture in the United States, especially a Black culture, we've been fed certain things, and I think that has been done to keep us back, intentionally to keep us back. Let's keep it real, and to not know what's out there in the world, that could be better for us. I mean, on all aspects of life, from healthcare to education to finance to real estate, to just enjoying life and and going on vacation, right? And
Yep.
then really immersing yourself into culture. And I think, yes, America is great already. It has been great since the beginning of time. Yes, there is a bad history of slavery and all of that, but there are other worlds out there. There are other cultures out there. There's other neighborhoods out there. There's other countries out there, that look like us.
Yep.
Okay, and that are entrepreneurs. And so when you say that they're giving up something, actually they're gaining more, in my
So much.
opinion, than what they think that they had. And so knowledge is power. Knowledge is a powerful thing. And that once you become knowledgeable on that, you then have, there's no money in the world that can replace that, because now you've empowered yourself, so much that you can leave the United States and travel to somewhere else open minded. Um, and you have to have that. You have to have that to be successful. And I'm really happy that there are more Black Americans, especially, that are jumping on the bandwagon. And I think if we want to dive into it, because of everything that's happening now, it's a trigger that's happening in the United States now. You're watching TV, you're seeing people slammed to the ground, and the police brutality, and all this stuff happening to people of color. And it can be a scary thing, you know? So yeah, it can be a scary thing, and,
Oh,
and
looks
I've
like it
had
was me.
numerous people that have, contacted me this year alone to say, "Hey, listen, I'm about to retire in a few years, or I may take early retirement, or I just want to go visit and check it out because maybe I want to buy real estate and start to work on my future." And so, yeah, we provide. I've done it. My colleague Michael has moved from California, from Los Angeles, to Cape Town so that we can run our real estate development group to help people to transition into South Africa. And it's been a wonderful experience to help people transition from the United States into South Africa, but by providing quarterly trips. And we can talk about that later as well, because we want to make sure that people are first educated and informed and knowledgeable about the destination that they're traveling to. It's so important because I find that even with my travel company, people contact me because they'll arrange a trip to South Africa, and then they're like, "Oh, I've got my ticket, I've got my hotel. What's next? What do I do? Where do I go?" And so it's very important to um, make sure that you equip yourself with the right information before you actually pack your bags. And yeah, so I just had a group that just returned, a group of 25 from all over the United States. They all met up in Amsterdam. They didn't know each other at all, and then they all flew together down to Cape Town, and they left as friends. And they made new friends as well. And they're already reaching out and saying, "Hey, I want to come back because I felt I didn't even like I only scraped the surface of getting to know South Africa in 10 days."
That's why I tell people you may need multiple trips. Hopefully you can extend it to where it's a little bit longer. Because what you experience, that community feeling, it's infectious in the most positive ways, and it gives you the opportunity to, I would say, tap back in, because it would be different if it was something that we didn't know about.
Yeah.
But we may remember it at a time where things used to be a little bit different. And what you see abroad, and the communities that are abroad that are thriving, are a return to that. From the expats perspective, it's a return to what's familiar. From the locals perspective, they may have never stopped doing this, but in America, those things have gotten far away.
I want to mention something to you, and I think that we have to relay the message because I think that some Black Americans, especially, feel that Africans overall, well, we're talking about South Africa, that they do not like Black Americans.
Hmm.
That is far from the truth. Um, I think that there's a perception of who Black Americans are because they watch certain programs on TV because now they have access to television.
Yeah.
And so they see a portrayal of who Black Americans are, and that's not the totality of Black American culture is not what you're seeing on television.
Mm.
And I won't name certain shows. I don't want to get in trouble here, but that's another conversation for another day, and a different topic because I think the message that we're getting out there as a culture as to who we are as Black Americans, I think needs to change
A
because
100%.
I won't name the shows, but you know what I'm saying. The Atlantas and everybody else.
Here's the thing, though. Unfortunately, and this is a thing that we talked about before regarding this table, and ours, and what it is that we can create for each other. Unfortunately, we don't have control over our narrative. So when we say what gets out as far as what Black America TV gets pushed, you'd be surprised how many TV shows get deaded, canceled, never see the light of day. Yet we see so many consistent things where it's like, why is this imagery consistently pushed out and green lighted? So that's why it is important when you do have opportunities. That's why I appreciated somebody like Robert Townsend so much, because
Yes.
he told authentic Black stories. It didn't have to be that we were not we were taken advantage of, or we're fighting for our rights. It was just like, this is just Black people trying to have a good time, or just living. And those opportunities Which is why when you get into the diaspora, I want to ask you, because as a Black American, a lot of people are asked, well, what's the racism like over there? And considering Cape Town keeps coming back as a top expat destination, yet up until 1994, you had apartheid being a part of the culture. I was alive in 1994. I was 7 years old. What does it look like now? Because to get out of, what do they say, jump out of the frying pan into the fire, you wouldn't want to leave America to go into something that feels almost relatively similar.
Well, I think racism is a global issue that we have. Wherever there are people, you're going to have some form of discrimination. And that starts from childbirth, in my opinion. That starts from being a young child, and what you're being taught, the culture that you've been brought up in, maybe experiences as well. And I think it's an individual choice at the end of the day to make a conscious effort that I don't want to be that person. I don't want to be that guy. And so I think with the newer generation coming up now, they're not tolerating that behavior. They do speak
Hmm.
out. They do talk back, and to correct people. Yeah, South Africa is known for to be was known during the apartheid to be highly racist. And of course, with the ending of that, and with Nelson Mandela bringing everyone together, black and white, and so what I was saying in the beginning is that you have white people that are not racist either, and that I have white friends in South Africa, and so I think it's this the same level of racism, if not more, is in the United States than in South
Yeah,
Africa.
America's got its own
Okay,
brand.
yeah, America's got its own issues, and a lot of this underlining, a lot of this underneath. Whereas in South Africa, um, the a lot of it's not tolerated, and you'll get one or two things. You'll pick up on one or two things here or there, but it's not like in your face, that sort of thing. And so I think the white race in South Africa is transitioning now, and the newer generation is coming up and not tolerating that, even within their own race. They understand that everyone is equal, and so it's a daily process, but it's not a blatant situation. I've never experienced racism before. Maybe because I'm colored, considered
Mm.
mixed race in South Africa, so maybe I'm treated differently. But I've been with my blacks, and I've never experienced it while being with them. And
That is a
so,
dynamic.
yeah, yeah. And so I've never experienced it firsthand. And then, of course, now if you go there expecting to see it, because your antennas are up looking for it, you may find it. You may because you're looking for it, and but I've never looked for it, so I've never experienced it. So if you're looking for trouble, you may find it,
No,
and that
I
can
get
be
it.
there.
That, but you bring up something, because I haven't. You said two words, colored and black, and I haven't
Yeah.
necessarily gotten those vibes in traveling. What I always do tell the audience is that many times your first chance at feeling like you're being treated as an American is actually when you go to leave America. It is oftentimes you don't get to cash in on the American privilege until you are actually outside of it. When I also tell people,
Yes.
know your weapons. People are like, Americans are not giving me anything. And I'm like, well, they've given you two things. You just have to know how to utilize them. One, the American passport. We talked about, being able to go and travel and see, but nobody realizes that your U.S. passport does nothing for you until you actually leave the United States. And there it gives you access, visa free access to over 180 countries. The second thing that doesn't really do you any good as an American citizen, inside of America, but the moment you step out, it automatically means more, is the US dollar. The US dollar, a $30,000 budget or $30,000 annual salary, really doesn't go that far. Yet we see oftentimes what that dollar amount looks like abroad, in even places like South Africa, even places like Colombia, Mexico, Panama,
Costa Rica.
Indonesia, Costa Rica, Thailand. That is why they say the poorest Americans are still the top earners in the entire world. So unlock your American blessings and your American weapons because they don't work when you're in the US.
So geographically, if you look at the map, that the most affordable places for Americans to move to are where? Located under the equator. And why is that? Why is that?
I have no idea. That's a good one, though.
That's a good one, right? Like, why is
Hmm.
it below the equator, south of the equator? Okay, more affordable. Now, you do have your exceptions. You have your Portugal, Spain, you know,
Yeah, yeah.
those particular areas, yes. But I will tell you, one thing that just came to my mind, it's just random regarding the weather in South Africa. You can experience four seasons in one day. Um,
So
uh,
Washington D.C.
yeah,
That's like
yeah.
D.C. That's like St. Louis. I feel like that's hilarious. I don't do the
Right,
weather
but for the
changing.
most part, for the most part, if you travel to South Africa between, let's say, like now, it's transitioning into spring, all the way through like April, you're going to be doing spring, summer, all the way through April. When you get into start May, June, July, August, you're going to get winter. So it's opposite of what we experience in the U.S. So as we're going through our fall, winter, we're going to spring, summer um, in South Africa.
Do you have a snowbirds crowd?
A what?
South Africa snowbirds. They leave when this gets cold in the United States and go live in South Africa for a little bit.
I'm guilty. I
So he's like, "Wait, what'd you call me?"
was like, wait a minute. Are you sure you're talking about? Yeah, I wasn't sure. Yeah. So I am that.
Hilarious.
Now, mind you, you can go skiing in South Africa. You can go skiing in South Africa during the wintertime. Yeah,
Okay.
but you have to go to the mountains. You have to go to the mountains for that. And in the summertime, you can go ATV riding in the sand dunes just outside of Cape Town.
Hmm. Yeah, I tell people get ready to live your best life, and I don't mean that like a cliche because there are things that I would have never put on my radar that I just signed up so easily and effortlessly when I moved abroad and I did them, and I was like, I'm so glad that I did this. It gives you the opportunity to kind of reset. But I did that with the community that invited me, and I want to ask because one of the biggest things Black Americans ask, no matter whether considering moving abroad or even going out with some new people or people, they always ask, who's all going to be there? Because we want to know what the environment is like before we get there, the community. Talk to me about the community that you've been able to cultivate as well as be a part of in South Africa, and what can somebody expect coming into Cape Town for their first time?
So, are you talking about the local community or the expats that have moved to South Africa?
Are they two different things? Is it opportunity where they blend, or is it one big environment, or is it completely separate?
Yes, so it blends. So there is a Black expat community that has formed for South Africa specifically. There's one in Johannesburg and there's one in Cape Town. I think Cape Town is the most largest one. So we do have a community called the Black Expat Group. I think it's Cape Town. I think they have a Facebook group, and we do get together on holidays sometimes. If
Okay.
people miss home a little bit, we'll get together for Thanksgiving or Christmas and have Thanksgiving dinner, the Christmas dinner, New Year's. If someone's having a birthday, so if there's, most people don't miss the United States when they come, but if they just want to be around other Black Americans, we will get together and do wine tastings. There's over 300 wineries, vineyards, and a few of them are Black owned that we would go
Oh, nice.
to support. Yeah, so we do those outings, and we do those outings, concerts, all of that, and then we've made friendships that way. And then of course we have our local South Africans as well that are really intrigued by Black Americans, and they're I love the Black South Africans. They're very inquisitive. They're so friendly. They just ask questions and they really want to dive into the American or the Black American culture, to understand. Of course, they reflect on shows that they've watched, such as Housewives. You know, tell me more about that. Atlanta, New York, and all of this. They're fascinated from what they see on television. But I think when they really get to know you,
Hmm.
um, they really become attached to you because it's because you're coming from a different culture and you want to learn who they are. They want to learn who you are, and there's a lot of commonality there as well as Black people. There's two
I
different
tell people,
struggles, right?
I tell them. The diaspora, living in it, lets me know that I already knew the diaspora was extremely and deeply rooted and connected with each other. But coming from America, it wasn't something I was actually able to reach out and touch. Like being in these rooms as a Black American in a room full of, I was the only Black American. I was the only American, period. Everybody else was Black and was Colombian. I was the only English speaker, first language, and seeing just how they operated, just being a fly on the wall, it's just like, this is the same. When you get that good bite of food, everybody does that little dance. Like
Yeah,
this is inherent. This
yeah.
is in you. And getting out inside into the diaspora, it makes you feel like reconnecting, doing these things, whether it's a part of the expat community or local, are important.
Well, you mentioned earlier, do I lose something by am I losing something by leaving the United States? Um, no, you don't lose yourself. You always will have yourself. You just have to be open to immersing yourself into another culture, but you still, and that's the beauty of it, is that you can get out into the community, the local community, but when you go home, you're still the same person that
Mhm.
you are when you got there, but now you've gained so much more, and it actually it's kind of therapeutic because the group that just
Mhm.
left were like, they're in reflection mode now
Yep.
because they're reflecting on their experience and they're like, wow, we visited a family home in Langa, which is the oldest township in South Africa, outside
Hmm.
of Cape Town. And they're like, they got to see the kids in the schools and how they live their lives, and visit a local family and how they live their life in their home, and the township and their neighborhood, how they blend together as entrepreneurs because they support each
Hmm.
other, going to get a haircut in a trailer or in one of these containers, and walking the streets and really blending in with the culture and buying their produce and buying their product. You know, you in Cape Town specifically, you can get the authentic experience by going to the local township, or you can go to the mall where they have over 450 stores. You know,
Yeah.
and they
I,
have two of
I
them
get.
in Cape Town. Century City Canal Walk, that's over 400 stores. And they have the V&A waterfront, Victoria and Alfred waterfront. We have over 450 stores. So it's the best of both worlds where you can actually experience your luxury life. Or if you want to get into the local townships, you can do that as well.
Yeah. And many of these places offer this. What I tell people, and I'm going to, challenge the audience because we're going to get wrapped up here soon. But I want to challenge the audience no matter where your destination is, knowing your whys. You guys heard some understanding of what Cape Town offers, from currency to just even community, the weather differences. Writing this down is important. I know that I don't want to live under 70-degree weather. So if it gets cold, that may be a part of what I'm not looking for. What we're trying to do is help you narrow
Yeah.
down your destination. Now go ahead.
Yeah. One of the touch points I want to talk about really quickly that comes to mind, I always get asked, so how is crime in South Africa? How is crime in Cape Town? I actually feel safer in Cape Town than I do in Atlanta or Washington, D.C. Bottom line,
Seriously.
I just feel safer,
No.
there. Yes, South Africa has its issues fighting crime. So does Washington, D.C. So does Los Angeles. So does Atlanta. You know, you just have to be smart about it when, how you travel. But while you're doing that, I want to tell everybody I do have a trip coming up in November, the end of November. I've got. So I was talking about crime. When we talk about crime, it's all about being smart, and not being paranoid, and making a few friends there. But I've never had an issue with worrying about walking down the street by myself in Cape Town. At nighttime, of course, you just stay in the well lit areas, just like you would do in any other city around the globe. People are people; they're out there, and you just have to be smart about where you're going and where you are. But we can talk about subject, other time regarding healthcare, cost of living, that sort of thing. I'll just tell you, I'll just tell you right now that I don't have any regrets whatsoever, not one.
Oh yeah, no, we're going to get into this because somebody's in the comments asking about cost safety versus Colombia versus Africa because
Okay,
it keeps
sure.
coming up when they're when they're going to look into top expat destinations, top places to go. But these places are also, well, these are dangerous. And shout out to Tristan and CC Sutton. They're out in Vallarta, Mexico, and they said the easiest way to determine whether or not if your place you're looking for is more like less safe than the United States, Google how many active gangs are in the United States. There are over 30,000 active gangs in the United States. The things that we have gotten used to, how we send our children to school, how we go out to a grocery store, a church, a bank, any of these places, and it could be the last time. That normalization is not a normalized scenario. Bad things happen, but in normalized ways, it is not. I will tell people that I came from the United States and I came from Philadelphia, which is a particular northeastern city. I didn't grow up in the suburbs and I didn't grow up in the middle of America where there was nothing going on. So growing up, I had to learn to carry myself in a certain kind of way. Taking this to places from
Absolutely.
Philadelphia to Atlanta to Florida has led me to carry myself in a way where others may not have been able to navigate certain things because I grew up seeing some things. For me, moving around in Colombia, I know what to do inherently without somebody telling me because of how I grew up. What I will tell you is common sense.
Yeah.
People often throw it out the window, and I tell you why, because they're having a great time. The weight of America is off of them, so they forget not standing on the corner holding a cell phone, looking up directions at 8:30 at 9 o'clock at night. That's not something that you would be like, I'm going to go do this in the middle of a downtown busy major city. But oftentimes they forget that this is their life. They're not on vacation. Everybody lives here. So I feel like the safety thing, it's not what America positions it. Your likelihood of you getting kidnapped is it's unlikely. Who are you? What do you have? No one knows
Yeah.
you.
One of the things that the United States government has on their website, is on their travel website. I think it's the TSA. I'm not sure if it's TSA, but of course they give alerts to different places that you should not travel to, or at least they have different levels of alerts, different colors, and all of that. I'm not sure where Cape Town is right now, but I've traveled to 23 countries in Africa so far, and I look at the different levels out there. Um, and I think what they do is they put those levels or alerts out there pertaining to Americans' comfort level of a perfect world situation. And I think it's a false positive. And I think it depends on, just like any city in America. It depends on what neighborhood you go to in Chicago or LA or Atlanta. You're probably going to put yourself at risk for something to happen. You know,
Seriously.
so the same applies to yeah, same applies. So, but I've never had an experience, any kind of a bad experience, or any kind of feeling like there's, for me, I've never felt uncomfortable in South Africa, even in Johannesburg. Love Johannesburg, but I think that Cape Town is definitely a safer city. Um, And I have friends that work in Johannesburg and they'll fly down to Cape Town just to get away for the weekend because, Johannesburg is very business, very
Hmm.
corporate, where Cape Town is more beaches, mountains, wineries, party scene, fun place to relax, that type of vibe.
No, I get it. And Colombia offers so much opportunity. What I tell people is because when you go Google Colombia, there's a lot of negative things that come out. A lot of people are putting, once again, themselves in situations that are not normalized. Most people who do not go out in the
Yeah,
street and meet somebody and then invite them to their house, friend or not. Those things, what happens is
right.
those are automatically ushered into saying this is what happened and this is where, and not realizing that the what led up to that happening is not something most people are doing. So we do need to consider that. When it comes to safety also, I tell people like what happens in the United States just does not happen. I was in a bowling alley one time and there was so much noise I couldn't really hear the person talking next to me. The one thing I could hear over all the craziness, I could make out somebody screaming. And I kept turning around and thinking something going on because the thing in the black community is like you see somebody running, you just get up and start running and just you figure out when you get there. So I'm trying to listen to him, but I hear this screaming
Yeah.
and I'm like, and he looked at me. He's my buddy. He's from St. Louis, and he goes, "You're not at home." And I said, "Huh?" He said, "You're not at home anymore. Nobody's going to run up in here and start, pew pew pew. There's not going to be an incident. Somebody's having fun." And it made me realize I had took what America had led me as normalized and brought it all the way to Colombia. Brought it into an environment that this wasn't present, and it wasn't something that I needed to be concerned about. I didn't need to be concerned about that. May need to be concerned about other things, but nowhere is Narnia. The place that you think that everything is 100% perfect doesn't exist. That's why I reference people back to their whys.
Yeah.
What are you looking for? What are you looking to leave? What are you looking for if you could live in Narnia? What would it have? That way you can help try to narrow this down. That's why we had this conversation. We wanted to make certain that we just had Panama on it was
Yeah.
either earlier this week. Go ahead, Maurice.
Yeah, and that's why I have been taking people to South Africa in particular for the last 15 plus years, is because I wanted to make sure that people get a chance to give themselves the opportunity to see the continent of Africa, well, to at least land their feet on the continent,
Mm-hmm.
but to be exposed to one of the 54 countries. And I've been very blessed to have people to trust me over the years to send them into South Africa, send them into Ghana, send them into Kenya and Tanzania and Morocco and Egypt and Zanzibar and Zimbabwe and Botswana and I can go on. But I this is my passion, and that is to educate and inform Black Americans, especially of what is out there and what's available to them to explore the world. It'd be a shame that you born and raised in America as a Black person and never stepped outside the 50 states, let alone, you know, yeah, there's so much out there. As the largest continent in the world, you deserve to treat yourself to that. And I'm not just speaking about South Africa altogether. I'm speaking about go to Africa, go to a country where you feel that you can make a connection. Do your research, get educated, ask somebody, join one
Yeah.
of these groups of people that are out there doing it, and explore and see the world. It's not as a far reach as you think it is. People think that it's expensive. No, you got to know how to do it.
No, that is real. We got some more questions in here. Gentleman wants to know, and I've got my answer, but I want to hear from what you think in South Africa. He says, "Do you feel comfortable going out dressing nicely in South Africa, or will that cause you to be robbed?" From what I hear, it is. I feel uncomfortable taking nice clothes with me on my trip to either Colombia or South Africa, but I hope I can overcome the anxiety one day. What is your take on it? I know what I got for Colombia.
Do I feel comfortable dressing up going out in South Africa?
It was just that part. You can go. You can answer that part.
Oh, absolutely. Why? Because South Africans can dress. Okay. South Africans dress. When I tell you they dress and they look like they're millionaires. Okay. Probably better than, well, millionaires probably don't even dress like this. But they, I, I do dress up when I go out to dinner, when I go to concerts, when I go to plays, performances, that sort of thing. And they do dress up. And I go dress up with my suit on, my jacket, sports jacket, nice shoes on, watch. I don't wear a lot of jewelry, but I'll wear maybe like a little beads or something like that. Um, I don't wear like necklaces and all that, but I've seen people go out and dress up. Um, and, it's never been an issue. It's people dress up and they go out and so thank you for the question, but yeah, people do love to dress there. If you look at the culture and the women and the men and how they dress now, when they go out, they dress in their African attire.
Yeah.
Okay. And they see have the suits on. Remember coming to America when King Jaffe,
Joffrey.
whatever, and
King Jaffe
Jaffe,
Joffrey.
and you see how they dress. Oh yeah, it's done just like that. This is not a game, So yeah, to answer your question, I hope I answered your question. Yeah, we do dress up to go out. Absolutely.
No, that is. I run into that also. Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
running into that.
I've enjoyed this session tremendously, and we do have a trip coming up November 29th through the December the 7th to Cape Town. And then we have another one in February. So I'll be more than happy to share that information. If for those that are out there, you can go to twooceansafrica.com. That's my website. And that's TWOAfrica.com. Not the number two, but Two Oceans Africa. Let me say that again, .com, to see our upcoming trips for 2025. And I'll be posting 2026 here shortly. We have a couple of trips to Morocco, South Africa, of course. I think to maybe Ghana, Kenya, Tanzania, but my focus has always been on South Africa. And those who are interested in purchasing real estate, investing, we do have the Cape Town Real Estate Investment Group, which is ctreig.com, which is Cape Town Real Estate Investment Group.com. You can Google that and send us your information if you're interested in purchasing real estate, buying a condo, investing, that sort of thing. And we're here for you. And we handle visas as well. We didn't really get into the visa talk, but we do handle visas for people that want to understand how they can actually transition and move into South Africa. There are certain visas that are available to you if you're retiring, that sort of thing. We can help you with that.
Hey, what's up, fam? RJ Mood here, and if you just tuned in to our incredible chat with Maurice Foley about making the move to Cape Town, South Africa, thank you. But let's be real, Cape Town is just one piece of the puzzle. Are you serious about ditching the U.S. for your next best life? Craving detailed, no BS info on how to actually do it? Then mark your calendars for November 22nd. Our live virtual relocation conference is your comprehensive guide. We're talking Colombia, Cali, Medellin, Santa Marta, Mexico here in Playa del Carmen, Panama City, Panama, and critical topics like visas, healthcare abroad, even parenting. Learn how to build wealth and pay off student loans outside of the USA. This isn't just talk. It's the easiest path out of America and into your dream life. We've gathered destination experts and all the resources that you need. Don't miss out. Grab your early bird tickets today at moodtravelabroad.com and get ready to live. See you on the other side of the TSA.